So, a few days ago, it was reported that Marvel does have plans to return Moon Knight to the MCU soon, just not in a Moon Knight Season 2. And as an avid Moon Knight reader who loves the character so very much, I don't give a fuck. Outside of a soft reboot, I see no way to salvage this version of the character. Every interesting aspect about his character was either watered down or ignored or misinterpreted. The shit they did to Stephen Grant should be considered a fucking war crime. He went from a charismatic billionaire to a piss baby with no money. What the fuck? The show barely touches on Mark's Jewish upbringing. They don't even acknowledge how that's a major source of conflict between him and Khonshu, or how Mark's love of violence was birthed from the fact that his father was a victim of a hate crime and decided to turn the other cheek. Mark's sadism is not even in this show, so that just fucking ruins his whole character arc. Mark Spector is a man constantly trying to rise above his mental health, grapple with his violence, and become a good person, but is constantly failing because some reason or another, but most of the time because of himself. Which makes the moment where he finally does become better all the sweeter, only for him to end up giving right back into that wild dog part of himself. And I don't even want to fucking talk about Jake Lockley. Jake Lockley is the protector of the system who cares for everyone around him, yet he chooses to describe himself as the worst parts of Mark Spector wrapped into one personality. And then you relegate him to a teaser villain for the next appearance. So in my opinion, the MCU has failed Moon Knight, but if I had to guess where I think he's going to end up next, if not a Season 2 or a Moon Knight film, it'll either be in another Werewolf by Night special presentation, which admittedly would be pretty cool, or he's going to be in that Midnight Suns movie they keep trying to make. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? So what's up with Peter's spider sense in the MCU? One moment he has it, and then all of a sudden he doesn't without any explanation. And then he just has it again. In Civil War, Peter clearly has his spider sense, noticing attacks coming at him from behind before they happen. He clearly displays this when he fights the Winter Soldier and Falcon. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, he just doesn't have it in Homecoming, getting ambushed by Vulture numerous times. And the film never addresses this. Peter clearly had that power, and then all of a sudden he doesn't. You'd think he'd be freaking out about that. He acts like he never even had a spider sense. And then cut to Infinity War, and then all of a sudden not only does he have it again, but it's even stronger now. The spider sense literally alerting him to an alien invasion. And then you go to Far From Home, and he kinda has it, but not really. And then in No Way Home, he just has it. It's clear John Watts wanted to do something interesting with the spider sense that he didn't really communicate to the Russo brothers, or the Russo brothers just outright ignored. But even then, Peter's lack of spider sense is not explored in Homecoming at all. He just doesn't have it, and it's not addressed, leading to this version of Spider-Man's spider sense not really feeling all that important, when it's one of Peter's most important powers. It's why he's so good at what he does. Peter did not receive formal combat training in his superhero career till way later, and the spider sense helped make up for that. The man was practically untouchable with it. Even whole groups of superheroes could not keep up with him. Peter was running circles around the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, all by himself because no one could touch him. And that agility and that precognition is really lacking in almost all of the Home trilogy fights. If I'm being honest, in my opinion, there's only two good fights in the entire Home trilogy. Peter versus Green Goblin round 1, and Peter versus Green Goblin round 2. But those are just my scattered thoughts that I got while thinking about the spider sense. I'm really happy that the Shang-Chi director is taking over for Spider-Man 4, because you know those fight scenes are going to be fire. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Go work, but I have an hour to kill, so let's talk about this. There's only 3 good fight scenes in the Tobey trilogy, and 2 good fights in Andrew's duology. Let's count down Tobey real quick. Crusher Hogan fight, although not all that impressive, is still an iconic fight that's super fun to watch. First fight with Goblin at the parade is fantastic. Peter jumping across the balloons to try and save MJ, only get tackled into that window. Him saving civilians as Goblin causes chaos all around him. Peter getting punched into that light pole. That was so good. Now, I get if you don't want to count the bridge confrontation, because that's mainly just Peter using his raw strength to hold out and try to keep these people alive, while Goblin just lays into him relentlessly. But the following fight at the warehouse? Iconic! Nothing Peter throws at Goblin seems to stop him, and Goblin is brutalizing Spider-Man until Peter gets his second wind and takes out Goblin. The music, Peter's face, him holding back that trident thing. Iconic. So that's just the first film and 3 iconic fights. Let's move on to the second one. The goon fights aren't all that impressive. Peter jumping on the car and waving up. That's cool, but like that isn't like top tier action. But every fight with Otto absolutely is. Those fights are so good at evolving and escalating into something catastrophic. Bank fight turns into a battle on the side of a building. The clock tower fight ends up with them ending up on the train, which I don't even need to talk about the train. And then there's the final battle at the warehouse, which starts with just Peter beating him up, and then the fucking sun shows up. Shows up isn't the right word, it just gets worse. So 2 movies in, 6 iconic battles. Let's move on to number 3. The first fight with Sandman is so fun. Sam Raimi displays his powers perfectly. Peter's like seasoned hero personality is great to see. Second fight with Sandman in the subway is fucking brutal and violent. It really displays how destructive the black suit is. And then there's the final confrontation at the construction site, which, my god, Kaiju, Sandman, Peter teaming up with Harry, Venom genuinely being fucking scary to me as a kid. All of it, iconic. So I'd say, in my opinion, each Raimi film has at least 3 iconic battles, which results in about 9 good fights across all 3 films. Now let's jump over to Andrew. Phasm 1 is very grounded, so Peter spends most of his time fighting regular henchmen until we get to the lizard fights. Every fight with the lizard is great, except for like the final one. I don't know, something about it just wasn't as like fluid. It's because it's in like a very open area on top of a roof, but like them crawling around in the sewers or in those tightly spaced hallways, just trying to like grapple with each other, it was just great. Both those fights are great. So 1 movie in, already 2 good fights. Now let's get to TASM 2, which in my opinion has some of the best Spidey moments. The Oscorp Utonium heist in the opening, I think it was Utonium, I do not remember. It's a very fun opening Spider-Man sequence. We get some fun swinging, we get all Andrew Garfield on like top as Spider-Man with the comedy, him easily dispatching all these goons, him having to catch all the vials, it's all fun. I will understand if you don't care for it because a lot of fucking civilians die in this opening scene. I would say every fight with Electro is great. The battle in Times Square, the battle at the power plant, both those fights are really fun to see Peter's agility at its best. And this might be a hot take, but I do like the Goblin fight at the end. Such an intense fight, especially with Gwen in danger, and I like how it's so close and, I don't know, lack for a better term, tight. There's not a lot of room to maneuver, so they have to take advantage of that and try to restrain the other. There's a lot of grappling, and I like it. So that's like 5 good fights across that duology. But those are just my opinions. What do you guys think? So, I just finished playing the remake of Dead Space 1, which is also the first ever Dead Space game I've ever played. And sadly, probably the only one, seeing as Dead Space 2 is not getting a remake. And I don't have a PS3, so I can't play any of the older games. But getting back to Dead Space, this is a solid game with some pretty good scares, great gameplay mechanics, and some memorable moments. The 2 boss fights with the Leviathan was great, the fight with the fucking Hive Mind was crazy, and I loved every encounter with the Hunter. Every time I saw that fucker, I was like, oh, this guy. I swear, when I saw that fucker grow his legs back, I hit him with the... This is all great, but Isaac Clarke, Big Man Isaac, might be my favorite horror protagonist I've played so far. Then again, the bar isn't too high. I don't play a lot of horror games. So his competition are Amanda Ripley and Miles Upshur, and whoever the protagonists of Whistleblower and Outlast 2 are. Big Man Isaac is so locked the fuck in. At the start of the game, he's running away from the necromorphs, he's scared, he's yelping, he's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here, and I feel like I was definitely projecting some of my own fears onto Isaac, but by the end of the game, He's looking at kaijus and he's like, fuck it, let's go. Isaac absolutely confirmed his certified GOAT status when he looked at that centipede the size of fucking America and said, come on then, cause this is all I got left. Man, I want to play Dead Space 2 and maybe Dead Space 3. I've heard a lot of bad things about Dead Space 3. But fuck, I want to see what happens next with Isaac. EA, I beg you on my hands and knees, make Dead Space 2 remake, I beg. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? So, we're getting a sequel to Robin and Batman, this time following the adventures of Jason Todd instead of Dick Grayson. I'm very excited for this, not just because I really enjoyed the first Robin and Batman story, I thought the art and writing were spectacular, but also because I have been asking for more Jason Todd Robin stories. Some of you may recall that a few months ago I was asking for DC to give Jason Todd the Dick Grayson treatment. Dick Grayson has had numerous stories exploring his tenure as Robin. Dark Victory, Robin Year 1, Robin and Batgirl Year 1, Robin and Batman, Batman and Robin Year 1, and so on and so forth. But none of the other Robins really get this treatment, and it makes sense. Tim and Damian are still more modern Robins, but Jason Todd? So I'm glad we're finally getting a story that revisits Jason's years as Robin. Now, whether or not the story is going to depict Jason as a reckless, angry, hot-headed jerk, or as the kind, street-smart, but with a heart of gold kid that loved being Robin and showed Bruce a new way of empathizing with criminals, remains to be seen. But either way, I will be definitely checking out this book when it releases whenever it releases, because I don't think we have a release date yet. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? With Season 3 of Invincible wrapped up, I just want to say, Cecil Stedman is easily my favorite version of the morally gray government guy who works with superheroes archetype. Because he's actually morally gray. I mean, let's compare him to the characters he gets compared to the most. Nicholas J. Fury and Amanda Waller. Now, Comic Fury is a fucking mess, because there's two of them, and one of them's nearly as old as Captain America. So, just sticking to his MCU counterpart, the man's not morally gray. He's just paranoid. He's basically Batman with a government position. The most morally gray thing I can think that this man did was the Hydra weapons and the helicarrier stuff. But that was mostly Hydra manipulating him. Secret Invasion sucked, but it would at least be slightly more entertaining if Nick Fury did some fucking evil shit to get the job done. He's just a higher-ranking James Bond. As for Amanda Waller from the DCU, completely other end of the scale. She is not morally gray at all. She is absolutely evil. She would kill a motherfucker if they got her coffee order wrong. She is out to protect America, not Americans. In the first film, when that whole bullshit went down with the Enchantress, the whole reason the squad was assembled was to save her. Not even to stop the Enchantress, just save her. And again, just her, not the room full of people she was with. No, she gunned them down as soon as she knew she was safe. And in the second movie, she sends the squad in just to cover up one of her fuck-ups, and then is absolutely completely fine with letting an entire city die. The most humanity we have seen from her is in Creature Commandos, where she shows a little bit of concern for Rick Flag Sr. Honestly, I'm really hoping the Amanda Waller show gives her just a wee bit more depth. But Cecil Stedman, on the other hand, actually does give a shit about people. The man has morals, they're just very flexible. The man has done both good and evil things. He's shown concern for Mark, tried to help him in some of his most difficult battles, fucking rehabilitated Darkwing. But he also implanted a bomb in Invincible's head, hired Sinclair, and kept Conquest alive, as well as sending Damian Darkblood back to hell, which is definitely gonna have repercussions. He has humanity, he does have empathy, but he is just willing to do whatever it takes to save the day. And honestly, I think characters like Nick or Amanda could definitely take a bit from Cecil. Show some actual empathy while being willing to make the hard calls with fucking zero hesitation. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? So it's being reported that the villain of Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 is going to be a woman. And I have a few theories on who that could be. Now, if they're doing the smart thing and going the street level route, which I'm really hoping they do, I could definitely see Silver Sable being the main villain of that film. She is an international mercenary and leader of the Wild Pack, and I could definitely see her being hired by Mayor Fisk to bring in Spider-Man. Mayor Fisk is very focused on being anti-vigilante, and set photos from Daredevil Born Again Season 2 reveal that he will be putting together an anti-vigilante task force, and in the comics, that task force is aided by the Thunderbolts, a team reimagined by Kingpin. Now, in the comics, during the Devil's Reign event, that team is led by U.S. Agent, but I could definitely see them changing that to Silver Sable to better fit a Spider-Man movie. But if we're doing multiverse stuff, I don't know, I guess there are a few female inheritors you could throw at Spidey. I could also see them reworking Queen Spider into a multiverse villain, but I don't know, that'd be weird. This theory is highly unlikely because no one fucking likes Queen Spider. Oh, fuck, I just had a devastating thought. What if our main villain's Screwball? Ugh. But yeah, those are just my theories. I'm very interested in seeing who this villain is going to be, but what do you guys think? So, Avengers Doomsday is just gonna be fan service the movie, huh? And what may go down in history as the most painfully slow and boring casting reveal of all time. We now know that some members of the Fox X-Men universe are going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and they are all no doubt going to fucking die. To me, bringing back the Fox X-Men is on the same level of desperation as casting Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. None of these characters are going to have any depth, any character arc, any meaningful impact on the story of the film. They are just here for you to go, holy shit, it's the X-Men, and then they will die. They are more than likely going to be replacing the knockoff Justice League from the comics that the Illuminati kills before Secret Wars starts. Which is just going to make it weird when the actual MCU X-Men finally show up, if they ever do. Honestly, they might just keep reusing the Fox X-Men verse. If we ever do get MCU X-Men, their relationship is gonna be weird with the rest of the universe. Like, we already met versions of you, saw those versions interact with the rest of these heroes, and then we watched them die. What interest are we going to have in ever seeing fucking MCU Cyclops interact with Anthony Mackie Captain America? Sam Wilson's first ever interaction with a Cyclops isn't even the one from his fucking universe. To me, it's just so dumb, disappointing, and oh so clearly desperate. And whatever time we do spend with these expendable versions of these characters will just be actively taken away from the characters who the story is actually about. Doom and Reed. Well, those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think?
Who are you picking to be your partner? Side note, everyone else on the panel is trying to murk you.
Oh, this is easy. Give me Batman. Bruce is the world's greatest detective with limitless resources. He will help me solve these cases and keep me alive easily. 30 cases in 2 days? Bro, Batman would love the challenge. Bruce was able to uncover the secret base of the Court of Owls when he was 9. He figured out the moon was getting closer to the planet by looking at a table. During one of his cases with the Justice League, he figured out a bullet was shot through time to kill somebody. As for the rest of these people, assuming I have the same knowledge going into this that I have right now, I can just inform Bruce of everything I know about each of those characters, and he can create contingency plans accordingly. And even if I didn't, none of those fuckers are getting past the Batcave. Compared to the other options, he's the best. I mean, Logan and Daredevil may have great senses, but they're terrible at keeping people alive. If we're talking show Damian Darkblood, he has no combat feats. And if we're talking comic Damian Darkblood, he didn't figure out it was Omni-Man who killed the Guardians till way later in the comics. By then, everyone fucking knew. Constantine could probably keep me safe with some magical bullshit, but he's not nearly as good of a detective as Batman. I don't see him solving 30 cases in 2 days. Punisher is not a detective, nor would he care about protecting me. And the question, maybe could solve it in 30 days? I highly doubt it, but even if he could, he does not have the means to protect me from Batman. I'll have a Robin outfit on before the other contestants are even revealed. I'm so glad Karen Page is coming back for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 because, I won't lie, these new cast members are just not doing it for me. Heather, Cherry, McDuffie, none of them really hold a candle to Karen and Foggy. I feel like the main reason for that is because they're not really given room to be characters outside of Matt. We are 6 episodes in so far, and the only scene any of these characters have had on their own outside of Matt is the fucking Heather book signing. and we didn't really get to learn anything about her except the fact that she writes books. Episode 2 of the Netflix show gave us an entire subplot about Karen and Foggy bar hopping. And in that episode, we really got to know both of them, not just as characters, but as people. And by the end of it, they felt real. Watching them hang out at Josie's was almost as much fun as watching Matt brutally torture a guy on a rooftop for information. We are 6 episodes in, and I don't see Heather being able to carry an episode like Karen did. We are 6 episodes in, and I couldn't see Kirsten McDuffie and Matthew Murdoch having nearly as much of an impactful episode as Nelson v. Murdoch. And I got nothing to say about Cherry. He's just there to move the fucking plot forward. Fucking Officer Mahoney had more shit going on than fucking Cherry. If you don't know who the MVP Brett Mahoney is, he's the guy who gave Daredevil his fucking name. He's the guy who arrested the Punisher. He's the guy who saved Karen Page's life. He's goated. I hope he comes back too. I would like these characters to be given more depth, but so far they're not doing nearly as good of a job as the Netflix crew did with Foggy and Karen. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think?